stepping in
spectacular,
as well.
over the top. I mean, that was a full force shot to the temple. I mean, he's right now. So they wipe off his gloves, but you look at him like he's really feeling it right now. I mean, he probably has no idea where he is.
Time when I'm going to take your soul, and you're either going to give up or you're going to get knocked out. And unless you have that instinct, you just will never be a good fighter.
It's likely that one big shot's going to land if the guy's not throwing other shots. So I thought with less artillery in the air, less bombs in the air, that the guy would have a chance to get to later rounds.
Joe Rogan reacted to Jake Paul's knockout loss by laughing alongside Anthony Joshua, saying the fight was a mismatch from the very beginning. Rogan explained that Jake usually fights retired boxers or MMA names, not a true Olympic-level heavyweight. He pointed out that Joshua operates on a completely different level and in a much higher weight class. From a pure boxing standpoint, Rogan said the result was obvious before the opening bell, and the ending only confirmed what most experts already expected.
Well, realistically, it's one of the craziest propositions of all time. You take a guy who just had a boxing match that looks like a sparring match with a 58-year-old Mike Tyson, and then you're going to fight one of the absolute scariest knockout artists in the head.
After the fight, Anthony Joshua delivered a firm post-fight message, stating that the knockout actually protected Jake Paul. Joshua explained that if the bout had gone longer, he would have broken Jake down both mentally and physically. He suggested that the early stoppage spared Jake from taking far more damage in the ring. In Joshua's view, the finish prevented a much harsher outcome.
It's not just physical, it's psychological. And when you understand the psychological warfare, I did say to you that, Jake, what's going to happen? I'm going to see a time when I'm going to take your soul, and you're either going to give up or you're going to get knocked out. And unless you have that instinct...
Anthony Joshua, being linked to what many called a circus-style fight with Jake Paul, immediately split opinion across the boxing world. Critics argued the matchup leaned more toward entertainment than sport due to the massive gap in size, experience, and pedigree. Joshua is a two-time heavyweight champion and Olympic gold medalist, while Jake is still developing as a boxer. Simon Jordan reacted strongly after Joshua broke Jake's jaw with a knockout, calling the event harmful to boxing's credibility.
Industry, because straight after the fight, I heard the question being posed to Joshua, will he now fight Fury? And then my first thought was, after what I've seen, who cares? After that, who cares if Joshua fights Fury? I like Anthony Joshua immensely, Spencer. Any exchanges I've had with him, I think he comes across terrifically well. But I fail to see where it's taken us, where it's taken him, other than hugely increasing his bank balance. You know, I really fail to see what this has done.
Well, it's done nothing, but he was going to fight in November, like I said, and he's just gone in there against Jake Paul. What has it done for his legacy? Absolutely zero. But it was, he's earned a lot of money doing that. And he's going to go again, and he's going to fight possibly February, March, and then there's that Tyson Fury fight that's looming that could happen in September, whether Tyson Fury decides to come out of retirement or not come out of retirement. For Anthony Joshua, he's earned a hell of a lot of money. This is prize fighting, and that's what it's all about. And that's what he's done, and he's built.
Jordan argued that fights like this blur the line between real competition and spectacle, pulling attention away from meaningful matchups. He emphasized that Joshua has already secured wealth and legacy, meaning novelty bouts are unnecessary. Jordan added that even without a Tyson Fury fight, Joshua's financial position means retirement would not be surprising if he chose that path.
Earning more than Joshua. That apart, Spencer, 6 rounds to get Paul out of there. Reputationally, how does it leave AJ?
Well, thankfully it didn't go to points, because I think that would have been a disaster for Anthony Joshua. I think that he needed to get the job done inside the distance. And he done it. Look, he could have done it at any given point. I think that he could have cut the ring off whenever he wanted to and got Jake Paul out of there. He took his time on that. He allowed Jake Paul to run around like a rabbit and throw the occasional shot from time to time. And I think he only landed one clean punch, didn't he, Anthony Joshua? And that was the one that broke his jaw in 2 places.
But, I mean, you said, did you not, to us in this very studio the other day, he's got to get him out of there in round 1.
I did.
Otherwise, what are we seeing?
Exactly that, you know, and I think what we saw there was a little bit of entertainment, and that was pretty much it, but not entertainment that many people enjoyed, if I'm honest. I think that people wanted to see a demolition job.
Joe Rogan praised Anthony Joshua's athleticism, speed, and fight-ending power. He explained that Joshua moves like a much lighter fighter while carrying heavyweight knockout strength. Rogan described Joshua as a nightmare opponent because of how quickly he can close distance and end exchanges. These traits, he said, make it unrealistic for crossover fighters to compete with him seriously.
But this is a giant Olympic gold medalist heavyweight. I mean, Anthony Joshua is
Here's the
terrifying.
thing that nightmares are made of.
And he's got that one-punch nuclear power. One punch. And
Adam Booth offered a blunt but balanced breakdown, noting that Jake Paul did manage to make Joshua miss at times. Booth said Jake's movement and positioning forced Joshua to reset, which showed discipline and preparation. While this didn't mean Jake was winning, Booth acknowledged that creating hesitation against an elite heavyweight is meaningful. He stressed that timing, footwork, and composure were real improvements, even though Joshua's class and power still decided the fight once he found his opening.
Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul shared a ring. Your takeaways from the 6 rounds that we saw, presuming you watched?
I was impressed with Jake Paul. I thought that, following on from what we're saying, right? A few years ago, he was on Disney as a kid, acting up, and has decided to become a professional fighter. That takes balls, but he's obviously striving to be as good as he can be. You can see that in the way that he moves, the way that he is developed in how he's punching and performing. But to make a 2-time world heavyweight champion that's still live, you know, AJ's still got something about him, to make him miss in such an accomplished manner. All right, so at times he was jumping out and running around, but there were times when he was well in range and still making AJ unable to land a clean, solid shot. He deserves a lot of respect for that. And then the shot that actually finished the fight, that broke his jaw quite badly, didn't put him out. That shot he threw with serious intention has put a lot of professional heavyweights to sleep. He didn't go to sleep. He actually finished on his knees, didn't he? Laughing and spitting blood out of his mouth. So, like they say, like, it's a special type of crazy and a special type of brave to do it. But I actually, hats off to him, because he showed that he's developing some accomplished little skills in there to look after himself. The size difference is always going to fatigue him.
I know everyone will come with the idea that, AJ should just go in there one round and smash him to bits, and that should be it. It was a big ring, right? Perhaps he could have cut the ring off a bit better, but would I be right in saying that regardless of skill level, if you forget about that with the 2 for a second, if someone is on the back foot and on their bike and doing what Jake was doing, it's difficult no matter who you are, no matter the kind of separation in skill level.
It's a big ring, and you've either got to run at him and look like a novice yourself, or just take your time and understand.
Afterward, attention briefly shifted to Logan Paul appearing to threaten Anthony Joshua and hinting at revenge for his brother. Analysts quickly dismissed the idea, saying a Logan versus Joshua fight would be even more lopsided. They noted that Jake trains full-time with boxing coaches, while Logan lacks that level of commitment. Most agreed such a bout would move from spectacle into outright farce and deepen criticism of boxing's direction.
Would be more of a mismatch than Jake Paul. You know what I mean? Because at least Jake Paul has taken boxing, or has trained with real boxing trainers in real boxes. Whereas Logan Paul, you know, he did that exhibition with Floyd, and Floyd's a little guy. Not saying a little guy can't thump, because Floyd really gave him some 2 pieces with no sides, right? But at the same time, you take his friend, Floyd's friend, Anthony Joshua, and get hit by him and see what happens. The same thing. Probably worse, because I think Logan, you know, he's a little taller than Jake. And because he's a little taller than Jake, he may think he's a little stronger than Jake. Which, I don't know which one's true or not. I don't think it makes a difference. But because he may feel that way, he may want to go in there and try to bang it out with AJ. And if that happens, it's going to be a lot quicker. See, that 6 rounds it took AJ to finally catch Jake. It took that way because Jake was on that bicycle, moving, being elusive, trying to come in and then come out. He tried to do a very poor man's Alexander Usyk, right? And it didn't work for him. Logan ain't gonna do that. Logan's gonna come in throwing punches and bunches like he did with Floyd, trying to get him in there and, do all this stuff. And what's gonna happen as soon as AJ lines him up, sets his punch, he's gonna hit Jake and he's gonna break Jake down.
Sugashano Ali focused on Jake Paul's mindset entering the fight. He explained that Jake's confidence and trash talk were necessary for him to mentally step into the ring with a two-time champion. Ali said belief is essential when facing overwhelming odds, even if the outcome goes badly. Without that mental edge, he argued, Jake would not have survived the pressure at all.
In the ring,
Jake was shooting double legs too.
Shooting double legs, nice
duck
ones
unders.
with ankle picks, duck unders. But dude, God, I see so much people talking shit on the fight, which, dude, what the fuck did they expect? Like, Jake was hyping himself up, saying he's gonna win. Dude, that's self-belief. He needed that to go in. He needed that to get himself into the ring. You know what I'm saying? He just needed that.
What do you think about the sticking that tongue out?
Dude, he's a showman. This is a fucking YouTuber that switched to pro boxing.
Yep.
And he's fighting Anthony fucking Joshua. He made $90 million, $7.5 million per minute. Nate Diaz says that boy don't work hard enough. This girl in the UFC said Jake Paul shot more double legs in boxing match than I did in my UFC career. Ryan Garcia said he's a runner, he's a track star. Al Germain said this is a clown show. Josh Hammond said, dude, it's like, what did they expect? They expect him to go in there and look like a clean fucking Floyd versus Manny Pacquiao. Two of the, you know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck?
You see the aftermath, like his jaw and everything. Fuck.
Jake Paul's broken jaw. Jake has to get wired shut for 7 days or something like that.
Yeah, like titanium
Tim had to do
plates.
7 weeks.
Yeah, Tim says that was the worst thing he's ever gone through.
7 weeks. Tim broke his jaw in Montana. Tried to go to the hospital. Hospital said the surgeon's out of town. So now he has to. So he's fucking goes like a week without even getting surgery. At least Jake was able to probably get it like next day, that same day. But it's like all the people hating on Jake. It's crazy. Connor said Jake is stupid and will be altered permanently from this bout. I look at it. It's inspiring seeing what he does because I know how much like he's putting in work. He's doing legitimate fight camps. He's doing sparring. He's doing rounds. He's eating. He's doing everything. And
Teddy Atlas explained that his prediction of the fight lasting several rounds was based on boxing realities, not anything staged. He pointed to Joshua's layoff, his previous knockout loss, and the hesitation that can follow such setbacks. Atlas also mentioned the larger ring, which gave Jake more room to move early. Once pressure increased, Atlas said Jake reached an unfamiliar level physically and mentally, and the fight ended by natural boxing factors.
Go rounds. I wasn't sure if there was going to be a silent agreement. I wasn't sure there was going to be a sparring match agreement that will spar for a while. I wasn't sure. I was honest about it. That's why he said it's going to go rounds. I wasn't sure if there was an understanding that, we'll play a little bit and then we'll get a little more and, whatever. So that was part of it. But there was real parts. Say that's the fixed part. That's the WWE part. That's where the people, and I'm with you. I get it if you want to think that. Here's why I picked rounds, and this is what I think I saw, and I know that in my mind I saw, was the fact is that a lot of people didn't think about. 15 months off. And there was going to be some rust. There was going to be some hesitation. There was going to be some time. He got knocked out by Dubois freaking 15 months ago. There were going to be ghosts in the attic. I don't care who you're fighting. You get in the ring again. It's going to take a minute to exercise those ghosts. The rust. You want to call it rust, whatever. It's going to take 5-6 rounds to get rid of the rust. But it's going to, the doubt, the self-doubt, the being in the ring for the first time with nothing in between after being knocked out. That was going to be a play. And then the size of the ring, 22 by 20. It's usually 20 to 20 is pretty usually around average. And it's 22 by 20. More room to elude, more room to move around, right? I thought maybe go in there with track shoes.
Chris Algieri and Paulie Malignaggi delivered harsh but honest reactions. They pointed out that Jake suffered serious injuries, including a broken jaw and lost teeth, yet still failed to gain respect from fans. Chris argued Jake should have fought aggressively instead of focusing on survival. Paulie added that constant movement drains energy and delays the inevitable, stressing that Jake lacks the skill to move and fight effectively at the same time.
An Ngannou type fight. Yeah, Ngannou, he's got balls. Ngannou's got balls, man. He went out there and he tried to fight, he tried to win. Jake Paul didn't try to win at any point during the fight. He was just trying to survive. I think that's actually ultimately going to hurt him with boxing fans.
What do you think, Paulie? I mean, you talked about the in and out kind of style, kind of hits and runs, and you said that A, it runs out your legs. He was exhausted a couple rounds into the fight, and B, it only saved him for so long.
He doesn't have the boxing skills to box on the move anyway. Once I saw the big ring, I knew he was going to run for his life. When you're that much of a novice, which obviously it's not even an insult to him, it's just lack of experience. But when you're that much of a novice, you either know how to run for your life or fight all out. You don't have that in between yet. You haven't developed enough of that in between boxing acumen to really pull that off. And so what ends up happening? You're either going to fight your ass off and you'll last a minute. Chris, you're being generous. Round 2, he would have got knocked out in round 1 if he would have fought. But at least he would have fought. He would have got the respect of the people and more importantly, the boxing community instead of these clowns that follow him and are still defending him. Now what happens is you didn't get any respect as a fighter. You didn't get any respect as a fighter because you didn't try to fight at all. If he would have, I was watching that through 2-3 rounds. I'm thinking to myself, this guy would do this for 8 rounds if he can. If he can do this for 8 rounds, absolutely not fight at all, absolutely not engage a single time in 8 rounds, he will actually do this. And he'll do it shamelessly. And that's the problem. That's the problem. The shamelessness of his approach to the fight. You're gonna be a fighter, then don't make an ass out of the whole sport, out of the whole business, and out of yourself first and foremost. Because in the end, what happens? You got his jaw broke anyway. So what ends up happening? What's the worst that's gonna happen? You're gonna get hurt. You're gonna get knocked out. You got hurt and you got knocked out anyway, but you just prolonged the inevitable and you got no respect out of it now because nobody's respecting that kind of performance. Nobody's respecting a performance where you were totally content to steal money from everyone.
In the end, the result felt inevitable. A mismatch on paper that played out the same way in the ring. Joshua's size, speed, and power proved decisive, while Jake showed effort, toughness, and some defensive growth. The aftermath highlighted 2 views: critics who see these fights as damaging spectacles, and supporters who respect the courage to step up. Either way, the core boxing truth remained clear: experience, class, and power win fights.